Hello, you want another self-published review? I got another self-published review for you. Hello, I'm Pete. This is the Ponderings of Pete. I read books, mainly sci-fi and fantasy, with a little bit of nonfiction sprinkled in every once in a while. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that is a little bit more near and dear to my heart, which is a self-published book. I discovered self-publishing when I got onto Booktube, and I was like, oh, you can publish not through the big six? What? This is such a wild concept. This is so cool. So I've started reading a lot of self-published novels because I want to support their authors. I want them to just, I want people to know that this is a viable alternative to going through the long and painful process of trying to get your book published through one of the big six publishers. It is still a long and arduous process, but I feel like it is a much more controlled process that you can control on your own. And that is one of the biggest benefits of self-publishing, in my opinion, as someone who's never done it, but just talked to authors and read their books. So, let's talk about The Nest of Intrigue by S.J. Saunders. A few months back, I picked this up at the request of the author, actually. I was talking to him in Discord, and he was like, hey, I'm looking for people to read. Start reading the series to get some publicity out for the 6th book, which is Forest of Dynasties, which came out recently. So he's like, hey, I'll send you the book in return for an honest review. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. I can do that. So, Nest of Intrigue. What is it? What's it about? The Nest of Intrigue is about 3 adventurers, 3 protagonists that get together and are hired by a town to figure out what's happening. Because there are things going on in this town that they need help with, but can't get done through normal means. So obviously you hire 3 random people that are gonna help you out with the problem. 3 adventurers. If you can't tell from some of the way I describe this definitely feels like a tabletop RPG. In fact, I was talking to the author, and he said that it, in fact, is based off of a tabletop RPG campaign that he has run. Now, with this, can you tell? Yes, you can. I felt like it, for me, knowing, D&D and the pace of Dungeons & Dragons games and campaigns, I could definitely see the influence of the campaign kind of reflected in the writing. Specifically in the pacing of the book, where there was more encounter-based things, where it was like, oh, you're leaving, and then you encounter this, and then you encounter this, and then you go to sleep, and then you encounter this, which honestly was kind of comforting for me, just because I really do like D&D. So that was a nice to read. If that's not something that really floats your boat with pacing, I do know that the author kind of goes away from that over time. He doesn't specifically base it on one campaign. There's several campaigns that he takes inspiration from. And, over time, from what he's told me, he does kind of diverge from the D&D pacing and completely diverges from almost any inspiration, any direct inspiration from storylines played out when you get to book 6. The book 6 gets a lot thicker from what I can tell. So, what did I think about the character? We got your 3 main characters, Jack, Tanner, and Allie. Jack is a traveler. She's just coming to town. She has her pet wolf, which is super cool. And, if you look at the population, very few people actually reacted to her having a pet wolf, which is really interesting. So that's interesting to see that come into town. And then we have Tanner, who is a native of Dragon's Nest, which is the town that this takes place in. He is going through kind of a typical coming-of-age story, it feels like, with a little bit of magic thrown in, which is really interesting to see. But also, it's kind of like, it's definitely on the side compared to the main plot of the story. Allie's backstory is kind of connected to the main intrigue plot, but only moderately so. So I do really hope that in the next few books, maybe their backstories are a little bit more intertwined with the main plot, or their backstories are even more explored in the next few books. That's kind of my hope. Allie's was definitely the most interesting. I think Allie and Tanner were definitely the most edgy of the 2. Allie, she's got her secret, which is really cool to see. And that play out. It wasn't too edgy for my taste, which can happen. In terms of kind of like the intrigue, the mysteriousness of this book, I felt like the intrigue definitely laid it on thick with the ignorance of the characters. The intrigue almost relied exclusively on the ignorance of our main characters. And Intrigue is a tight balance to keep your reader invested. You kind of have to play off of both reader ignorance and character ignorance to play it well. So this was something that was good, but it could have used some improvement in that aspect. This is something I've only recently started thinking about. So I don't think I could give like specific thoughts on how this intrigue could be better accomplished, but it just didn't feel super mysterious to me. It just felt like, oh, we just don't know what's happening. Cool. Okay. So that was my thoughts. Definitely a shorter, kind of more comfort read more than anything for me. There are a few things that I might have to turn my brain off for, but not too many, but not like crazy amounts of things. So I did like this book. I am going to continue it. Check it out. They're really short. This one's under 300 pages. They do get a little bit longer as the series goes on, but this is definitely like this is the writer's first time writing this type of story. So, I expect to see some improvement as the series goes on, which I'm looking forward to. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, go ahead and like it and subscribe. If you want to get any of S.J. Saunders' books, I'm linking his website down below, so check that out. Go to his website, go buy his books, support your self-published authors. Thank you. You're awesome. Get some rest because it's good for you, and good night.